So you are from Switzerland, right? Can you hear me and see? Hi. Not see. Aha. Aha. So I need uh, to put camera. Just a moment, please. Okay. Добрий вечір. I will try to put camera now. Sorry. What about now? Can you see me? No. Just uh-huh. Change screen. Okay, so camera. What about now? Okay, just a moment. I will try to like 10 minutes. One window. And now, good, great. Okay, so I am happy that I have so many spectators today, and I will try to explain my opinion about game one of World Championship. Of course, I'm planning to comment other games as well, but for today, I think just one game, so it will be enough. Any other wishes? I don't know. So, game one. Yan play with white. Chinese player Ding Liren plays with black. So, e4, e5. 6. Very classical, very popular position, and now usually white plays d3 or rook e1. And after rook e1, the most popular b5, bishop b3, castle or d6. Ding Liren usually prefers castle with intention to play martial attack. But bishop takes c6 was choice of Yan. Probably he wanted to surprise his opponent somehow, Of course, this is not novelty. But after d takes c6, d takes c6 only move, because b takes c6 at the moment doesn't work because of very simple reason. King g4 is coming and black losing material. So d takes c6 is only move. Okay, so now I want to remember my old friend from Sweden, Emil Hermansson, who explained me that, in his opinion, there are always five alternative in the opening, in healthy openings. Okay, but of course there are some exceptions. Of course, if there is capture, usually there are no five alternatives. For example, of course, after e4, c5, knight f3, d6, bishop b5, knight c6, bishop takes c6, like doesn't have any alternatives to b takes c6, but okay. So I don't know why his choice. Okay, bishop d7, you mean now or instead of knight c6? Okay. So bishop d7, now it's not playable, okay, but here it's playable, and now, okay, only two playable moves. So king takes d7, it's hardly playable. But okay, so his choice was 5, number 5. Uh, okay, so okay, so if situation with capture, okay, it doesn't work. Or with check, probably it doesn't work. But we can imagine something else. For example, totally normal position I will put without any capture. So d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3. About this position, which is not new, I was thinking about today. So where so previous move of black was totally healthy. It's not d5, e takes d5, and now there are only two playable moves for black, knight f6 or queen takes d5. But okay, it's another story. So, and knight c3, okay, so we have this position. It was played in game 4, but today I'm not planning to comment game 4. I will do it later. But after knight c3, so I start to think which alternatives black had. Jinglieren played d5, and it was Carlsbad structure, I mean, in game 4. So bishop b4 is alternative, so already two moves. So c5 is possible, invite white to play Benoni. Third alternative, or also bishop d6 exists, Cobra line. Okay, so c5 is 3. What else? So knight c6 is funny move here. It's possible. So it's alternative number 4. So probably you can be surprised with knight c6 but I analyzed it and even played knight c6 line. Yeah, bishop e7, yes, yes, or just d6, maybe more flexible, but not to be hurried. So okay, bishop e7, it's hardly logical, but okay, maybe you want after e4 to play d5. I don't know. Maybe it's also has some sense. If e5 knight e4, maybe this is not so bad. It also but you are losing the pawn, so no, it's hardly playable. Okay, so knight c6, I was analyzed and even played this line, but in different move order. I mean c4, e5, Sorry, c4, knight f6, knight c3, e6, e4. And now again Zurabas by Parashvili, although it was blitz, I played knight c6. So my idea was to provoke him for d4, and after d4, black has two options. Bishop b4 is possible, and d5 is possible as well. But after knight c6, Zora play f4. Also possible move. I played d5, e5, knight e4, knight f3, something like this. So I wasn't so happy with my position after the opening. But okay, after d4, I remember that my plan was bishop b4. d5, it's possible, but if d5, e5, knight e4, knight f3, it's quite promising line for white. This idea of bishop b4, queen c2. Now white is ready to play bishop d3 if castle. So if, for example, f6, white can just take and play a3. Immediately bishop d3, knight takes d4 is possible. So a3, bishop takes c3, b takes c3. This position looks like quite promising for white, but because if castle bishop d3 is coming, but okay, it's playable. So bishop b4 was my general plan play, and now white has choice what to do. Team Nepo or Team Dink? I am no, I am not involved in this match, so nobody asked me to my help. So after bishop b4, white has choice. Of course, e4 is not only move, but now f3 is possible. d5, e5, knight g8 is one theoretical line, but usually we can see this position from this move order. Okay, it's playable. And now if a3, a3 is not the best because black can take and take, and if takes, knight takes e5 is coming. So this is problem for white. So after knight g8, probably better to take, and now a3 is possible, or f4 is possible. If f4, knight g7. If knight f3, bishop g4 is coming. So something like this. Of course, after bishop b4, white has other options. For example, a3. It's possible a3 was played in game Jobava Carlsen. So bishop takes c3, b takes c3, knight takes e4, queen g4, f5, queen takes g7, queen f6, queen takes f6, knight takes f6. I don't remember what exactly played. Jobava f3 probably, or knight h3, but it's easy to check. So Jobava won with white. Also, bishop d3, it's very funny line. Sorry, queen d3, it's hardly good. So bishop d3, idea that obviously black cannot take on d4 because e5 is coming, so knight is attacked. After knight g8, queen g4, white is totally winning. But after bishop d3, black can play d5. e5 is also possible. So e5 is idea if d5, bishop takes c3 and play knight b8, idea d6, if c5, d6 as well, something like this. But if d5, e5, knight e4, it's quite fresh position, not so popular in the highest level, at least not yet. And now white has some choice. For example, knight g2 is possible, but knight takes d4. If knight takes d4, knight takes c3, so bishop takes e4, knight takes e2, queen takes e2, d takes e4, queen takes e4, castle, castle, bishop takes c3, b takes c3, f5. Now, in my opinion, position is approximately equal. But okay, there are many alternatives. For example, after knight takes d4, bishop e4, knight takes e2. I remember queen a4. Quite interesting line. Bishop d7, queen takes b4. No, black has some problem. If knight takes c1, bishop c2, something like this. If knight takes c3, bishop c2 as well. So there is something like this, okay. Of course, if play knight c6 now, black can also play knight f3 simply, and after bishop b4, now several moves are possible. Queen c2, bishop d2, bishop g5 is possible as well. Okay, bishop d2 is very solid move, for example. Sometimes we can see this position. After d6, bishop d2, idea to prepare a3 and take on c3. Доброго вечора. Okay, so we have d5, bishop b4, knight c6, c5. So it's already 4. So what is fifth alternative? Bishop e7 was proposed, but probably d6 is more flexible. Okay, it's dubious objectively, but not a losing move. Okay, b6 hardly playable because after e4 white has obvious advantage. So, hola. d6, okay, what is this? If e4, black should play c5. Now, white has choice to play d5, it's Benoni, white has both captures. E takes d5 is good, c takes d5 is good, so it's matter of taste. Or knight f3, it's hedgehog structure in pleasant version for white. But if d takes c5, I think queen a5 and black is more or less playable. Although also white is better here. So bishop d3 simply. If d takes c5, e5. If queen takes c5, simply knight f3, castle, bishop a3. So excellent version of Marozzi system. So objectively, I'm fine, thank you. So objectively, maybe d takes c5, even strong move. So I think that theory of Emil Hermansson it's not totally correct. Instead of 5, I think 4 is more correct number of choice because of this position. So d6, bishop e7, b6. It's okay. It's not losing immediately, but there are moves from second sort of moves. So maybe 4 is better to use. Of course, there are some exceptions. But okay, let's come back to game. So e4, e5, knight f3. So bishop c6, d takes c3. And usually white plays this line with idea d3, and then now pawn e5 is attacked, pawn e4 is protected, so white has simple threat to take on e5. So after d3, black has to defend the pawn. Usually black is playing knight d7, knight d4, knight d2, castle, knight c4, f6, knight h4, knight c5, knight f5. I played this against Vladimir Kramnik with white and I won a nice game, but okay, it doesn't mean that white is better in this position. Positions approximately equal. Also, black has another possibilities. For example, after knight bd2, they can start with f6. After knight c4, knight c5 immediately. Not hurry with castle. Idea after knight h4 to play g6. Not allow knight f5. So d3, it's the most popular move in this position. But when I was child, more or less 14 or 15 years old, I like it to play knight c3, and after knight d7 to play d4, e takes d4, knight takes d4, castle, bishop e3, or queen e2 to prepare rook d1 and try to develop my pieces as soon as possible. Bishop e3 may be possible as well, but after bishop e3, I'm not sure if this is. Now probably black is totally fine. So bishop e3 probably is inaccuracy somehow. So queen e2 is my plan idea to play rook d1 and try to utilize good development. Why he captured knight not at once? You mean uh, here bishop takes c6? Why not? Okay, it's also possible to play, but this is a different kind of position now. Uh, f6 square is not occupied, and black has many plans. For example, f6 is very popular move after d4, e takes d4, knight takes d4, and now knight e7 is possible, for example, this idea knight g6, or c5 is possible. Also, black has other moves like bishop g4, h3, h5. So it's totally different position. So it is also playable for white, but there are different ideas. Okay, so bishop takes c6, d takes c6, but after knight c3, okay, knight d7 is totally playable position. So after d4, white has no advantage, but also possible, according to theory, to play bishop g4 here. Now black is ready to regroup his pieces. With knight d7, if for example d3, knight d7, and this kind of position is quite comfortable for black. So after bishop g4, main theoretical line is h3, bishop h5, g4, bishop g6, now queen e2, because if knight takes e5, knight takes e4, it looks like drawish somehow. So queen e2 is also knight takes g4 exists idea, but objectively I'm not sure if this is correct. Also black has practical chances. So queen d6, long castle, h5 is coming. So it's also possible idea knight takes g4 in such kind of this position, but bishop g6. So knight takes e5 is drawish, so queen e2, knight d7, d4, e takes d4, knight takes d4, h5. So knight f5 takes, and something like king f8 is theoretical line. And according to theory of that moment when I played this line with white, it was considered like equality. But I'm not sure that king f8 immediately, maybe bishop f5 firstly, and only now king f8, because if king f8 immediately, maybe white can consider even this. I'm not sure. Something like bishop f4. Then my plan to play f3, defend my king, and start to play against c7 pawn. I'm not sure that this is so good for white, but at least it's possible to consider. Or start with f3. Also, bishop on g6. It's a little bit. Yes, I played when I was a child. I played knight c3 line. Nobody played against me bishop g4. So everybody played knight d7, and after d4, I was more or less happy with my position. And also later I played against Etienne Bacro, and after d4 he played something like bishop d6 or bishop f6. I don't remember. Bishop f6 probably, and I took on e5 immediately, and it was an advantage for me. But more logical to play bishop e3 and just keep tension to prepare queen d2, rook a d1, or queen e2, rook a d1, something like this. But in my childhood, all opponents play e takes d4. I took this knight after castle, queen e2. I played this, but later it was some games. Levon Aronian played with black, and according to these games, things were quite comfortable for black, but I don't remember exactly what played Aronian here, but it's easy to check. But okay, so what else I can explain in this position? So about d3 I explained it, about knight c3 I explained. Queen e2 is possible with same idea as Sergei Tivyakov played, also if that with knight d7, d4. Also possible even queen e1, Vladimir Kramnik played in this position. So white has choice. Tivyakov played against Adams queen e2. But okay, let's come back to rook e1. So rook e1, what it means? So e4 pawn is defended, e5 pawn is attacked. So white wants to take on e5. It means that black should defend e5 pawn. It's obvious. So black has what is idea? You can ask Vladimir Kramnik, who played this slide with white. Okay, so idea after queen e2, black can play bishop g4 if they want. h3, bishop f3, queen takes f3, and play this position. Or maybe bishop h5 is also possible. I am not sure that this is correct idea, but it's possible. Queen d6, queen g6 is planned. For example, if white plays naturally, so it can be really dangerous. So white should play something. Maybe d3 is correct, but after queen d6, probably king g2 is correct. But okay, it's if queen g6 now rook h1, but okay, it's complicated position. Black can play long castles and play h5 or f5, so even this it's possible to consider. So also after knight c3 there is same idea. h3, bishop g5, g4, knight takes g4, so it's at least black has good practical chances. Again, plan of black, queen d6, long castle, and then start to attack. Carlsen played something like this against Nakamura. I'm not sure that in this position, but so yes, queen e1, it's prophylactic against bishop g4. But queen e1, it's artificial move, of course, but it's prophylactic against bishop g4. And again, if knight d7, d4 takes. Castle, knight c3. But okay, this version, so queen e1 looks like less natural than queen e2. Okay, probably after knight d7, white can play b3 also. Possible, but I don't think that it is a real fight for advantage, for example, after this. And then black can think knight b8, knight c6. Okay, so queen e1 is realigned, but okay, but Nepomnia she played rook e1. So what it means? So it means that he not agreed yet to play quiet positional play after d3. So he attacked the pawn e5, and he is considering proposition to push d4. Yes, d3 or d4 is available. So black has choice, and Ding Liren played knight d7, and you can think about this position. I will come back in 2 minutes. Queen d6. Okay, so there is question of queen d6. Queen d6, it's very logical move, and interesting that I played queen d6 in this position. So here instead of knight d7, I played queen d6 against Emil Sutovsky. Now black wants to play bishop e6 or bishop g4 and then knight d7. So queen can go to e6 in future. But this line is a little bit dubious for black in my opinion, because knight bd2 and now knight c4 is threat, so we can see some disadvantage of queen on d6. So black should react somehow. And if bishop e6, natural move knight g5. It's slightly unpleasant. White is ready to take on e6, and after this exchange, white is slightly better. I mean, something like this. b5, it's possible, but risky positionally in such type of position. So usually strong players doesn't like to play b5. Course, it can be dangerous. Okay, it's maybe possible, but if there is possibility not play b5, better not do it. For example, now b3, and if c5, bishop b2, knight d7, knight h4, now it's not possible. Maybe this is playable position, however, but a4, of course, but at the moment, a4 black can just ignore it, probably just castle. A, B, C, B, I think It's not nightmare for black in this position. Also necessary to check such idea. Okay, but c5. I mean, such ideas need to follow. This is dangerous for black. Probably it's possible to make piece sacrifice, something like this, but it is hardly correct. Bishop b7. Yes, okay, bishop b7, maybe knight h4 is coming somehow, and bishop, it's not so active against d3, e4 pair on b7, so much more natural is to play c5, so bishop on c8. So don't forget what tell David Bronstein about King's Indian and about Spanish. So they told that in King's Indian and Spanish, but he mean black. King's Indian, Rook A8 and Bishop C8, and in Spanish, White Rook A1 and Bishop C1. It's developed pieces. So now we can see the same. So, but from black side. So Rook a8 and bishop c8 is quite developed pieces. So if you're playing bishop b7, it doesn't mean that you improve your bishop against d3, e4 pair. So okay, b5 is possible, but if bishop e5, bishop e6, knight g5, it's a little bit problem that if bishop g4, white can just play f3, and then knight c4 is coming, and black has some problems with pawn e5, with his queen, and with coordination of pieces, so white should be better here. But okay, after rook e1, I agree, queen d6 has more sense, because now after d3, it's rook e1 look it's like, okay, it's playable, surely it's playable, but it's less logical than knight bd2 immediately, because, for example, in this structure, if castle this rook can be useful to be on f1 to support f4 in future. So it's not sure that in such kind of position rook is better on e1 at all than on f1. But okay, I see question about d4, but I don't think that this is a serious problem for black, because they has bishop g4. And now, obviously, white cannot take with knight. If takes with pawn, black has excellent position, probably even slightly better for black. Okay, at least equal. Bishop e3, maybe it's possible, but hard to believe that white can fight for advantage here. So d4, bishop g4, what else? Knight bd2 doesn't work because queen takes d4 is possible. It's important. Knight d, and then after both knight takes c6 or knight f5, black can just take on c2. So d4, bishop g4, so black is totally okay. c3 may be possible, but c3, okay, black has many options. Knight d7, for example, looks like totally playable if there are no something more aggressive. So knight d7, idea to prepare bishop takes f3 and takes on d4. So d4 is hardly dangerous for black, in my opinion. After bishop g4, black should be okay. So if somebody was my spectator when I showed games between Morphy and Anderson, for example, so what can I tell about Paul Morphy in the opening? So usually he played e4, and his opponent played e5 or c5 mainly. and positions after the opening was open. So usually strategy of Morphy was in opening, I mean, was to develop pieces as soon as possible. Yes, fast development. Of course, he was quite deep positional player in the middle game, so it's not necessary underestimate him like positional player. But in the opening, yes, as fast development as possible, and usually it was successful and against such opponent who he played against. So if imagine that there is car of time and Morph is playing with black and somebody played rook e1, it's very hard to believe that Morphy would play knight d7 because knight is developed, so to play against this developed knight, it's bad according to Morphy, and also knight d7, after knight d7, bishop c8 is closed. So if you utilize theory of development as fast as possible, so knight d7, it's not a move which Morphy would like to play. Uh, So my prediction that Morphy would play in this position queen d6 or bishop g4, not knight d7. So, well, okay. So knight d7 he could play if he is sure that other moves are bad or dubious for some reasons. So, but I don't see such reasons why these moves are bad. Okay, I considered bishop g4 very natural move, and now h3 predictable reaction, because if white plays calmly d3, black is ready for knight d7 and then f6 with normal position. So after bishop g4, but okay, h3, and now black has hard choice. So bishop f3, queen takes f3. Not everybody likes to play this structure without advantage of two bishops. Now black can play castle, black can play knight d7, so it's playable position, especially with rook on f1. So black has their plans. For example, here instead of castle, they can think about f6 and then knight c5, knight e6, something like this. But okay, it's very specific type of position, and not everybody likes to play such type of position with black, and probably Dean Guilherme wasn't fan of such type of position. But okay, after h3 I was thinking about bishop h5 with idea g4, bishop g6, knight takes e5, bishop takes e4, g5, rook g8. It's fine idea, and it totally works because if takes, black is playing f5. Now the king f1 is only a resolvable move, and black has good attacking chances. So I remember that Engine proposed something like queen d6 after d3, bishop h1, something. My idea was bishop d3 takes, queen takes d3, but according to Engine, this is just equal position for some reason. But the problem that according to Engine, this line is bad for black because white has no obligation to take on f6. So white can play d4 simply. Also knight g4 is funny move proposition of Engine. Yes, knight g4 is possible. So g takes f6 objectively is bad move for white. But d4 is the strongest according to Engine, which I use it. And now I remember lines that after bishop f5, queen f3, bishop e6, c4 was engine proposition. And idea that after queen takes d4, white has knight takes c6, it's very important. And after knight d7, d5 is extremely unpleasant for black. So this line is much better for white. So if to play bishop g4, h3, also this is possible, of course. Same idea which I already explained, but okay, so it is difficult to play such line without special preparation. So black obviously has compensation, but okay, so in World Championship to play this without preparation. I don't think that Ding made special preparation against Rook E1. Jan for sure should analyze this position and to have a program how to play. Okay, I think D3 was planned, and after Queen D6, I don't know what he planned to play. Probably Bishop E3, but after Bishop E3, F5 is possible. It's so I'm not sure. Idea if e takes f5, e4 is coming, and at the moment f4 is positional threat. So probably knight bd2 was planned. Important that queen g6 at the moment doesn't work because knight takes e5, but position is very complicated, and black has long-term compensation after queen e6, and long castle is coming, h5 or f5 in some moments. So this more or less Morphy style, but okay, for modern chess to play against against prepared opponent, it's risky, and objectively I'm not sure that compensation is enough. Knight c4 is possible, or knight f1, knight e3, so probably it's not enough. But queen d6, it's nothing wrong with development, so I think for chess understanding of Morphy, queen d6 is the best in this position. So not against the fast development, and okay, bishop g4, it's too concrete. But of course, after d3, I think there is nothing better than d3 at the moment. Okay, what else white can do? d4, bishop g4, as I explained it, black has no reason to afraid. So okay, h3. Okay, h3 it's possible, but after h3, black already can play c5, and I think okay, now of course white can play d3 and knight bd2, but yes, in exchange variation knight a3, yes, but now knight a3 probably less logical, because even black has ideas something like this, and queen d4 check, and then bishop takes a3 is coming. Okay, I'm not sure that this is the best what black has, because probably this, and bishop takes b2 is forbidden for many reasons. But okay, knight a3. Okay, but now knight a3. Anyway, it's strange position somehow for knight. Okay, black can play b5 now. If d4, bishop g4 again, looks like totally playable for black. So h3, c5. Okay, b3. I think also c5 is possible. But okay, now okay, maybe b3 was idea. Okay, after b3, maybe there is more reason to play bishop g4. And now this piece sacrificed because obviously queen d6 is much more useful move than b3. So still black need to be careful somehow. For example, it's possible to to, to lost quickly. For example, this okay, this is cooperative variation. So this c5 d4 is, if e takes d4 e5, if knight d7 d5, and now we can see how strong is h3, bishop is trapped. But okay, so of course this line is okay. Castle is not so terrible move, but after b3 already bishop e6 is mistake. So black should play something else, probably c5, bishop b2, knight d7, d3. But okay, I think black has no reason to hurry with castle. For me, c5 looks the most logical. But okay, of course, c5, d3, it's totally playable game for white as well. But black can play now h6, for example, with idea if knight bd2, bishop e6 to prevent knight g5. If b3, knight d7. So this kind of positions totally safe for black, although it's playable for both. Okay, maybe b5 even possible. No, I don't know. Because after castle, white can consider a4 to stop b5. So queen d6 was logical, but okay. So Dindli played knight d7 and d4. E takes d4, queen takes d4. So queen takes d4, another line. So not knight takes d4, which h3 I already explained my opinion about h3. Of course, after h3 here, black can just play bishop e6, and after knight g5, just ignore knight takes e6, because as I explained it, with rook on e1, black has no aggressive plan with f4, and black can think even about h5, g5 plan. So it's possible to play with long castle. Of course, queen g4, but okay, queen g4, queen takes g4 and h5, it's hardly bad for black. If d3, h5, probably knight bd2. Okay, I don't know how strong this attack, because if attack will not work, knight will come to f5. Okay, maybe this is a dubious plan at all, but who knows. At least necessary to check. If knight e3, queen h6 is coming. If knight g3, probably castle, knight f5, rook g8. So knight f5 is strong, but white king is some danger somehow. So black has choice. So queen d6 is logical move, but okay, knight d7 was played, d4 was played, e takes d4, queen takes d4, castle, bishop f4. So white is playing according to Morphy strategy, so they want to develop pieces as soon as possible, as fast as possible. So now black has choice, big choice. Even g5 can be considered, but okay, it's not so easy to play from king without special preparation, especially in world championship match. Okay, maybe g5, bishop g3, h5. It's not so stupid idea here, but okay, it's much more easy to suggest that okay, so if we are and analyze, it's one story. If you are playing world championship match, it's a little bit different story. So okay, knight c5, normal move. Knight b6 also possible, this idea to If you go g5 and lost, yeah, okay, okay, but necessary concrete analyze, for example, bishop g3, if g4, knight d2, if bishop f6, e5 is coming, and pawn g4 is handing. But okay, so is this queen takes g4, knight takes e5. It's a knight c3, knight takes e5. Probably it's possible as well. Yes, it works. So for title Tuesday, it's totally normal position. So black has some tricks, and also after bishop g3, it's possible to consider h5 or knight c5. So okay, so it's g5 was a move. It's possible to consider bishop f6 and provoke e5, and then try to play knight c5, exchange of queens. But white doesn't want exchange queens. So probably knight c3, knight c5, queen e3, bishop f5, rook d1, something like this, and knight d4. So probably this is unclear. If I can start h5, also possible. I was thinking about this, but okay, it's moves. They are moves from king, so it's not easy to play. And what is benefit after h3? It's not so clear. So it's risky. Okay, so in blitz, titled Tuesday, it's but okay, they are not move. For World Championship match, I mean, without preparations. If there is time for preparation, okay, player can prepare h5 or g5 after preparation, but without, it's not typical. Okay, so it might be a very special player with very special attitude to chess. But especially in world championship matches. So in some tournament, okay, for example, I can imagine Richard Rapport played g5. Okay, so but in world championship match, it's a little bit different story. H5, H4, I don't think so. Because okay, maybe it's also possible, but okay. Now after knight c5, somewhere h4 pawn will be weak, and after bishop g4 is coming, so I don't think that h4 is a good idea. But okay, after h5, probably white can just play knight c3, g5, bishop e3, something like this. Okay, it's not so clear, maybe g4 and g4, bishop h6, bishop f6, e5, knight takes e5, and full success in title Tuesday. Yes, now it's good for black suddenly, because knight d2, bishop f6, knight e5 is coming. Okay, so black has choice, but okay, h5 and g5 risky moves, so didn't decide to play knight c5. So of course he's ready to exchange queens, but queen is for sure it was preparation of Jan Nepo. h4, best move castle in game 4, h4, in game 4. Game 4, I don't remember h4. It was Carlsbad. Didn't play with black, so h4 wasn't played. Probably in another game was played h4. So queen e3. White doesn't want to exchange queens. It's understandable. Yes, yes, yes. H4. Yeah, understand. Yes, yes, you are right. Okay, I hope we will consider this game as well. Yes, yes. Game 4 was English opening. Yes, game 3 was Carlsbad. But okay, for today, I have another topic. So Queen E3, and so surely it was preparation of Jan Nepomniachtchi is out of preparation already, so he's playing bishop g4, probably not the best move, but probably advantage of this move that Jan was not so good prepared against bishop g4. So I think knight e6 was my main preparation of Jan Nepomniachtchi, and obviously white should play bishop g3, not allow capture. And now black has totally normal position. For example, bishop c5 is possible, queen e2, for example, queen e7. And now white has choice where to develop his knight. So on c3 or to d2. If, for example, knight c3, black can just play bishop d7 and then rook a d8, bishop c8 is his plan. So knight e5, black can play bishop e8, but also can play rook d8 simply. Bishop c8 is prepared, and if white takes, it's okay. Mhm. Yeah, okay, so this is possible, but okay, probably knight bd2 is a more promising plan, but also nothing special. So bishop d7, knight b3, bishop a7, maybe bishop b6 as well. But after bishop b6, I'm afraid that knight e5, knight c4 can be in some moments. So because of this, my proposition is bishop a7, and now okay, it's interesting position. Knight a5, it's not a problem for black because queen b4 is always coming. c3, okay, if c3, rook a d8, and then bishop c8. Bishop h4 probably can be considered with idea if f6 to play e5, but I don't know. Okay, first of all, f6 is not forced. Black can think about queen e8 even, and then f6. Knight e5 at the moment, knight f4 is coming. Now knight a5, okay, it's possible, but how dangerous? Okay, for example, I will play rook b8 simply. Rook a d1, f6. In such a playable position. Of course, after bishop h4, if we are considering such a move, bishop h4, maybe black can play more sharply, f6, if e5 play aggressively. Ой, з Рейк'явіку. Та ні, не задоволений ні результатом, ані грою особливо. Що я робив там. Ну, але деякі партії прокоментую. There is question about Reykjavik. If I'm happy with my results there, okay. I'm not happy, and I'm not happy with several quick draws. So, but okay, probably I will do some comment. E takes f6, queen takes f6. If rook a d1, probably even knight f4 is possible. There is proposition this. I'm afraid this can be strong. So okay, so knight e6 was totally good alternative, as we can see. So black has no special problem. It's just playable position, playable for both. But bishop g4 was played. Probably not the best move. After after knight d4. Now knight a4, it looks like interesting line because pawn b2 is attacked. If automatically played b3, bishop c5 is unpleasant. Ой, та що ви говорите? Та ну його в баню. Ну що то, кінь G5, кінь F3 в останньому турі. Це не гра взагалі, вибачте. Але, ну, чому я пішов тура E8 другий раз? Окей, I explained that in Zaitsev line, so it's not a chess, knight G5, knight F3, but I didn't play knight D7 instead of rook E8. Okay, it was shame. Idea of 94 easily can explain because the most natural move is knight c3. It's developing move. It's like very natural, but there is concrete problems that knight e6 is coming now. Black is ready to take on f4. If, for example, rook a d1, queen e8. If bishop g3, bishop c5 is unpleasant. So white has some tactical problems because this kind of pin is unpleasant. So knight d4, it's idea. So knight a4 was principal, but okay, probably this. If knight takes b2, rook b1 is coming, so it's tricky and risky for black somehow. Okay, but I don't know, so it's necessary to check. So knight takes b2 may be possible, maybe not so bad. Bishop c5, for example. If knight b3, knight c4, but I don't know what is this and how worsen is this. If b5, knight takes c6, so probably knight a4 was expected by Nepo and he prepared something because of course black has same ideas, bishop f6, e5, bishop e7 to provoke e5, but okay, it's not Berlin defense and queen are in the board, so white has some chances to prepare attack in King's Land after bishop g5 exchange. But probably it's also playable for black, so queen e8. But okay, knight e4 now, if bishop f5, even knight f6 is necessary to consider this idea. If g takes f6, queen g3 check. So queen d7, knight c3, and now rook a d8, very natural move. But also, if compare with game, was logical to play rook f d8, with idea after knight f5 to have bishop f8. Black has totally comfortable position. But the problem that after rook a d8 and also after rook f d8, white has h3. It was very strong move. Daniel Dubo indicated this move in his report. This very nice idea that after queen takes d4, knight d5 is coming. And suddenly it's very bad news for black. So after h3, black is in trouble. If, for example, knight e6, knight takes e6, bishop takes e6, rook a d1 is coming. Queen c8, queen g3, something like this. After queen takes d4, knight d5. After bishop h5, knight f5. Also here, h3 is very strong. It's very important. Also important that bishop h3 doesn't work. Idea of black, if this, knight d5, bishop f6, it's okay for black. I mean, this variation is this. If bishop g5, queen g6, if queen takes c5, f6. This is okay for black, but unfortunately, unfortunately for black, of course, white can simply play rook a d1, and white is just winning because after bishop e6, knight b3 is coming, and black losing the piece. If bishop g4, f3 simply, and then white has same threats, knight f5 or knight b3. So rook f d8, h3 is very, very strong. So black has bad position. So knight e6 probably is best, but knight takes e6, bishop takes e6, rook a d1, black has problem. If queen e8, white can just take on c7. If queen c8, queen g3 is coming. So rook f d8 is bad move, but interesting to consider. So, but interesting that after rook a d8, h3 was strong. I agree with Dubov, but knight f5. Strange that this position wasn't prepared for Jan. So why? Only explanation that he didn't expect bishop g4. So probably he analyzed it mainly knight e6. It's logical explanation because if he expect. Yes, but if he played rook e1, so bishop f4, queen e3 surely was prepared. Probably after bishop g4, Jan just decided that okay, knight d4 is good and didn't stop analyze. Or he analyzed knight a4 line more more carefully because knight a4 is aggressive line. So probably his main preparation was here after knight a4. So I'm looking for logical explanation because if he played rook e1, so such rare line, he should prepare something. Probably this position was main in his analysis because after knight d2, for example, black has no obligation to take on d2 immediately, so black can play any move. For example, rook e8 is possible. Just play this position. Still b3, bishop c5. So its position is complicated at all. So I'm not sure that white has advantage here, but probably it was position which Jan Nepo, she was focused in this preparation. But after queen d7, knight c3, rook a d8, so h3 was strong, so Dubov is right. But Nepo, she played knight f5, and so and knight e6 played didn't Liren. According to many players, bishop takes f5 was correct. After e takes f5, rook f e8. Black has no problem. But very important to see if you play this that b4 doesn't work because knight a4. This is critical idea. So b4 doesn't work. Black is ready for bishop d6. f6, bishop f8 is possible. So f6 is not dangerous for black. Maybe bishop d6 as well. Queen g3, g6. Knight is ready to go to e6. And if, for example, g4, black can just play bishop d6. Queen g3, bishop takes f4, queen takes f4, queen d6. This position looks like more or less equal after queen g3. Now black knight has square d7. It's in case if white will attack b4 in some moment. So queen g3, approximately equal probably. But after knight e6, so it's bad move. White has a clear positional advantage. This is bishop g3. So now white bishop g3 is stronger than black bishop on g4, and white has some pressure against c7. Okay, maybe nothing special, but it's pleasant play for white. Probably black should play f5, however. It's principal question to exchange type of position. It's logical. Because f4 is threat. E takes f5, bishop takes f5 now. White has some problem with c2 pawn, so black has some contraplay, so it was principal question. Hard to believe that Dean Liren didn't consider f5 such a natural move and such typical for such kind of position, but I don't know why he didn't play this. So I would play. Okay, strange, but how white can utilize e line? So black also has some ideas with queen b4, knight d4 somewhere. Okay, it's I agree this is complicated, but at least black is doing something against stable positional advantage. So now white should f3 queen b4, I think. And not so clear. b2 is hanging somehow, and also knight d4 is coming. Okay, maybe there is bishop e5. Okay, but after bishop e5, just bishop takes c2 is possible. Okay, okay, so maybe knight e6, maybe not so bad move. Okay, dubious move. But bishop f5 certainly was better. So f5. Okay, queen b4 also was possible immediately. f5, f3, okay, but f3, f4. So bishop takes f4, rook takes f4, fg, rook takes g4. Looks like totally good for black because all black pieces are active. So knight on c3, it's not in optimal place. So hard to believe that white can have for advantage. White can have any advantage. So I think e takes f5, bishop takes f5 now. Okay, maybe a3 just to prevent queen b4. Or maybe b3 with idea of queen b4 to have a3. Maybe this is it's logical idea, but at least black has some contraplays. Queen f7. If queen f7, probably knight e4 now. So probably this. Also, black can consider queen b4, a3, queen d4. It looks like approximately equal position. But black has contraplay. So for some reason, didn't decide not to do anything concrete. So queen b4 also was option somehow. If b3, knight d4. But this is probably less convincing because b3, knight d4, a3. Also queen a7, okay, at least black trying to do something concrete. So if a3, queen e7, not so bad for black probably. So queen b4 also was possible. a3 doesn't work because queen takes b2, rook a2, queen b6. But maybe white has a3 in this. Maybe this works. Now if knight takes c7, rook e2 is black losing the queen without sufficient compensation. So looks like refutation. So queen b3 it's not good, but f5 looks like good move. Maybe something like this. Knight e2, I'm thinking. Or maybe b3 if queen b4, knight e2. At the moment, black cannot take. Let's see. Or knight a4 even. Knight a4, so b5. I'm not sure. Okay, maybe knight e2. Or maybe just some move with idea after knight d4 to take on c7. So maybe this. If knight d4, if knight d4, I have also a3. Maybe this. Maybe this is correct. b3 is important because rook a d1 immediately black will take, and if white takes with rook, c2 pawn is hanging. If knight takes rook f e8, where rook f e8? After b3, rook f e8 now, maybe. Yes, why not? Good. Yes, bishop takes c2 is unpleasant threat. Yes. Knight e2, bishop takes c2, knight f4, bishop f5, and it's okay. Yes, yes, you are right. So what white should play? Rook ac1 maybe. Queen b4 somehow. Okay, black has active pieces, so for white not so clear to play in this position. Probably knight e2 immediately if white wants this. To prepare queen b3. So if rook f e8, probably queen b3 is coming. Obviously, if bishop takes c2, I want to play knight d4 or knight f4. If queen b4, queen b4 is interesting, by the way. And because after bishop e5, black already can take on c2. b3 now, maybe queen d2. Or just rook f8 is possible. So f5 was very logical idea, but Dink played bishop h5, so he decided to play passively. I don't know what was the reason of his decision. Probably he afraid some tactical tricks on e line, but it doesn't look like really dangerous for black. So bishop h5 is dubious move in my opinion. So bishop h5, f3, f6, h3, h6, quiet game. King h2, some quiet moves. Now f5. Okay, but okay, now f5 is not possible. Just losing the piece. But just a moment. h3, but h3, bishop takes h3, it's possible. So this may be okay. I'm not sure about this as well because white king is quite weak, but maybe f3 and knight e2. But after h3, simply bishop takes h3. Looks like very good for black, so h3 doesn't work. So I think e takes f5 is best, but now no, not so easy. At least I don't see any advantage for white here. Okay, maybe white can knight e2, queen f7. Okay, queen f7 is possible, but okay, also possible, yes. And then queen g6 is coming, yes. It's also possible, but queen b4 is looks like more natural for me. But okay, probably it's matter of taste. Yes, queen f7 is also possible. Okay, but let's come back to the game. So some quiet moves was played. Now position is stable and white has advantage because pawn structure, because bishop is better. b6, a5, knight e2. Looks like white wants to exchange knights and try to attack c7. Very reasonable plan, and certainly it's not easy for black to defend, and they are totally without contraplay. Pawn a5, if it makes sense, okay, but okay, but what to do? So maybe a5 not the best, but what is alternative? Okay, maybe takes and rook d8, but okay, it doesn't change structure. So, okay, probably a5 not the best, but somewhere white can think about b2, b4. And then queen e2, queen takes a6, probably not. Okay, I don't know. I don't know what wants black at all. So black is playing without contraplay. So okay, but he played this rook d3. White is fighting for d lines. c5. It's very difficult to improve because also in king's side pawn structure are not optimal for black because knight d4, knight f5 is coming in some moments. King d2, simple play, c6. Now, obviously black cannot take with queen because bishop c7 is coming after exchange. So, but now, bad news for Ding. So queen f4, queen d6 also was possible. Queen b4, very logical. b5. No. White has clear advantage. Queen c7 was possible. But he played queen b8. So queen c7 takes, knight b7, king g3, for example, logical play. And then I can push e5 and some movement. King f8, so king f4. It's possible, but okay, it's not necessary. But queen b8 is very logical, so white is pretending for material advantage. So bishop c7 is threat, so black has no choice. And bishop d6. So now also Dubo indicated that bishop c7 was quite a good idea. Knight e6, bishop takes a5. He considered knight d4, he considered queen d7 as well, but it doesn't look that black has enough compensation. So queen d7, and to remember what was his suggestion. Okay, maybe just knight g3, yes, or bishop c3 firstly. If queen d1, knight g3, queen takes c2, knight f5, something like this. And now white has also attacking chances. Also, black can fight queen c1 with idea to prepare queen f4. So he proposed something else, but I don't remember what exactly. But okay, you can see his stream. Okay, I can think with my own head. Probably e5 it's possible to consider. But e5, queen d1. Ah, now black to move, sorry. So, knight g3 or knight f4 is also possible. Knight f4 also queen d1. But maybe this is possible if this white can take, play queen e8. But queen d6 check. Doesn't work. So, okay. Let me think. Knight g3, yes, I agree, this is logical. And after queen d1. Probably now something like queen b7. Queen c7, no, because queen b7 also, queen b7, I afraid that queen takes c2 is possible, because it's checkmate. So how to play? So bishop c7 takes queen d7. So I don't remember what recommend double, but okay. I am happy that I don't remember, because I have possibility to think with my own head. Okay, maybe something with e5 or knight g3, and after queen d1, now maybe e5. At least it looks like logical. Also, maybe f5. I can consider if knight takes f5, queen takes c2 with some threats. Not so easy for white because suddenly black pieces are very active. Okay, knight g3, queen d1. So white needs to consolidate. Okay, maybe just bishop c3. No, I played many classical game against Dean Liren. In China, I played classical game. It was Busen. Okay, but no. In chorus, I played. No, it's only classical. Hard to believe that this is only classical game. No, in China, I won in anti-martial. No, it wasn't. Okay, maybe now queen d6. Why not? Okay, at the moment queen takes c6 is not threat because knight f4, but what black should do? So queen d6 looks logical from positional point of view. Knight g5. Knight g5. Okay, queen d2 is possible, or bishop d2 is. Bishop d2 you will take on b2, so probably queen d2. This endgame. Okay, so we can see that not so easy yet. So white can play this, but black has some compensation. Okay, maybe knight g3 is good idea, but after queen d1, maybe just play c4. Because if you will take, I will have passed pawn. It can be unpleasant, especially if white will reach endgame in future. So I like c4. Knight f4 is not possible yet. An important start with knight g3. Knight d4, but knight d4. Consider so c4, knight d4. It's question if black has any threat. So queen c2 is threat. Bishop c3, queen c2 anyway, and d pawn is a bit dangerous for white. b4. b4 I don't understand what white will do. You mean b4 and maybe now knight d4 or what? But if knight d4, I will just take on c5. Queen d2. Yes. Okay, so it's not so clear. Okay, so let's come back. So forget about Dubov, forget about his recommendation. So we have better position for white. So queen f4, of course, queen d6 endgame is possible. But okay, queen f4 I like, b5, so queen c7 is possible. And many other moves are possible. Okay, queen b8. Bishop d6. So bishop c7, knight e6, yes, queen d7. Okay, so it doesn't look like something convincing immediately for whites. Okay, but maybe knight f4. If queen d1, I can just take. And if he takes, I can just play bishop c3 now. And now if queen takes c2, queen c7 is extremely unpleasant. I'm attacking pawns f6 and c6. So maybe knight f4, I can just exchange the knight. Knight d4 now also is possible. But okay, if knight d4, I can play just c3. If knight b3, queen d8, why not? Opposite bishops, okay, but white, there are knights on the board. Okay, it's obviously black has chances to survive, but it is not easy draw yet. Okay, well, and also maybe knight d4, white has some other possibilities. c3, knight e6 back. Okay, it's possible, but it is obviously very far of easy draw. Yes, bishop b6 is also possible, and now bishop b6, yes. So knight f4 looks like the most logical idea. And white has pawn up and quite good winning chances. In future, b3, a4 is possible plan. Queen f8. Okay, maybe queen f8. Takes c4. Okay, bishop c3. And then e5 is coming. I cannot assert that this is winning, but okay, it's pawn up and good winning chances. Okay, but he played bishop d6, queen d7, knight g3. Well, again, bishop takes c5 was possible, but after bishop c5, queen d2 probably. Because if knight e6, queen d6 is unpleasant. But okay, if queen d2, knight d4, knight e6, knight takes e6, bishop takes e6, queen c7. Okay, it's also a big question why he didn't take. So if queen d2, I'm considering this like possibility. Or knight f4, same idea. If knight e6, just take, play queen c7. And surely black is in trouble here. It's important that after king g8, bishop f8 is threat already. Okay, maybe bishop f8 is not a big threat. For example, if black doing some pass, so now black has this idea, probably this is draw. So yes, this is draw. This is perpetual check. Because if king g1, queen c1 check, king f2, queen d2 check. This is draw, but okay, after a4 white, not necessary to hurry. So white can do something better. I don't know what exactly, however. Maybe just queen takes c6 is possible. Yes. So this pawn endgame may be winning for white after queen f5. Okay, of course, in queen's endgame, white has excellent chances to win after h4. But this bishop c4 instead of bishop c4. Okay, bishop c4, bishop f8 is possible. So queen g5, what? Queen g5, f4. Surely that's unpleasant for black. Okay, still like some chances. f4, queen g6, f5, queen g4. Bishop f7 you wanted. The same idea, but okay, with pawn on a5, maybe. So at the moment black has no threats, so what white can do? h4 maybe. Why not? I have threat. Ah, yes, a4 with idea. Yes, a4. But okay, so h4 now is possible. So if queen d7, queen f4. So now queen takes c6. Yes, yes. Now queen takes c6 because there is no perpetual check. Black has possibility to go bishop g1. I hope. Necessary to check, although if this it doesn't look like realistic. Yes, it doesn't work because white can just take and play queen d6. If a2 bishop d4 and white is totally win. Sorry, a1 queen check, so it's not. So this is probably, but it must be some refutation. Queen c4 probably. Queen c4, b takes a3, bishop d4 now. But queen c1 check. Okay, so after a3, queen b3. Yes. Yes. Yes, it looks like refutation. But queen a1. King h2, a2, bishop d4 at least. Or f4. It was winning. Yes, so yes, queen takes c6 is possible. Yes. Yeah, so it was possible to take pawn. And what was the reason? Take, so okay, queen d2 is more or less forced because knight b7, bishop e3, knight. Maybe now knight e6 is more. If knight e6, queen d6. It's unpleasant. So this queen d6 looks like very promising for white. Okay, so difficult to understand why he didn't play this. Now he has pawn up and good chances for win. Maybe bishop d7. Okay, after a4, queen takes c6, so queen f4, this, I should play bishop c4. Bishop c4 is possible. If b3, bishop takes b3. Also bishop f1, there is idea. But bishop takes b3 is more simple. But what about e5 now? It's important question. But okay, still black has chance. Queen takes b2, queen e4 check. And then bishop d4 is coming. It was my idea. Unpleasant for black. So e5, probably black should take. f5 now. f5. That's interesting. That's not easy. Because if e6, just queen e1 simply. c2 is hanging. Black has chances to draw. b3, bishop takes b3 is possible. And now e6. Interesting. Okay, but after e5, I want to check if just, for example, take, queen e4 check, king goes somewhere. Something like this. So. Of course, white has winning chances, but not easy. After f takes e5, b3 is maybe b3 is interesting. But bishop f7, queen takes b5. Yes, but sorry. If bishop takes b3, what is your plan? I don't understand. Because if check, I just go here. This, and white has only perpetual check. Looks like. So b3 it doesn't work. So queen e4 is correct. So king h8 or king g8. Okay, it's actually the same. Okay, so this type of position. Okay, no guarantee that white will win, although still chances. G4, king g2, h4, h5. It's difficult position for black, but no guarantee that white will win this. Okay, but anyway, it was very logical to take pawn and try to realize this pawn in the future. But he played knight g3 for some reason. I don't know why. Knight e6. Now black defended his pawn, so at least white cannot win material immediately. f4, h5, c3. So move 31, probably they could be in some trouble, I don't know. He wanted to play for domination, okay, so also possible. So f5 and bishop takes c5, knight takes c2, so he doesn't want. So he played c3. So he wants to play f5 and not allow knight d4. Knight d4 instead of h5 may be possible. But probably white has some attacking chances after bishop takes c5 and knight f5, something like this. Queen f8 is threat somehow. If bishop e6, knight e7 probably. This idea f5. But now queen d2 is coming and knight e1 is unpleasant threat. So, okay, f5, knight e1, queen g3. Still dangerous for black, but I'm not sure that white is winning. Maybe white is winning. Bishop is if bishop c4, bishop e3, and then bishop h6. If it works, because if bishop e3, queen d7. Now knight g6. f5, bishop c4 immediately. Bishop c4 immediately. Knight g6, bishop g8. It looks like extremely dangerous. But knight e1 is threat. So. And maybe we can consider this. If knight e1, queen g3, bishop e6, f takes e6, and white wins. But now knight e3 is possible. But knight e3, bishop takes, and queen c7, and white has excellent. Sorry, queen f8 wins immediately. Queen f8, queen a7. So, not wins immediately. Also, okay, queen. If e5, queen f7. It's black. Suddenly not losing. My idea was after takes to play f6, although maybe also queen f7 is possible. Okay, but very dangerous. So maybe it's possible, but very dangerous. Also, I can just play c3 and after knight b3 try to uh, knight f5, queen d2, queen d2 we are considering. And queen f8 is possible, yes. It's not possible. King h1. Looks like totally winning for white. You are right. Yes. Okay, so Dink played h5. Okay, it looks like reasonable. Some moment he wants to play h4. What program do you use to analyze games? You mean Kibitzer or what? Okay, when I'm in Twitch, I'm not using. Okay. To demonstrate, I use ChessBase. When I am Twitch, okay, I'm using only my head and my eyes. Okay, if I have seen something before with computer, okay, I explained that this is computer suggestion or suggestion of somebody else, for example, suggestions of Dubov, somebody else. But in general, I want to express my own ideas. So c3 played, c4. h4. Move 33. Okay, understand f5 immediately is possible, but probably h4. Intermediate move, and then knight g5 is coming. It's question how strong it is, however, for example, knight f1, knight g5, knight d2. Maybe its position still not so pleasant for black, but maybe bishop h5 to prepare knight f7, or to prepare bishop e3, bishop d2, bishop e2, bishop d3 with some contraplay. So h4, he's playing for domination. Queen d8. No. c5 pawn is not hanging, and black is ready to. So now was a recommendation of Dubov after queen. Wait. Uh, Here queen c7. Sorry. Knight d2, bishop h5. Queen c7. Queen c7 takes bishop e2. I'm afraid it will be enough for draw. Also, even here, it's, for example, this. If knight f7, I can play king g1, king f2, and try to realize h4 pawn. So maybe still not easy draw. With bishop d3, I will take, and king g1, king f2, king e3. So still some chances. But okay, he played h4, queen d8. And now suggestions of Dubov was something like this. He considered this idea of him was to play f5, and if this, very important to play this because black wants to attack bishops, but just in time. Now white is clearly better, according to Dubov. Добрий вечір. Yes, but still not clear that it's enough for win. So white is better, that's true, but a4 probably. King g3, knight a5, king f4, knight b3. Okay, e5 maybe. Or bishop d6. Bishop d6, knight c1, now e5. Okay, surely white is better, but a4 after queen trade. a4. So here a4. So possible. No, I don't know who is second of Jan. I know only that second of Ding is Rapport. Maybe there are some another second. I don't know, but who is second of Jan? I don't. I have no idea. If you have any information, please tell me. A4 also interesting. Bishop d7, for example, is possible. Bikita, who is Vityugov. Okay. Okay, maybe bishop d7. First Chinese grandmaster. Okay, so a4 is also possible. He played knight d4, knight b7, e5. Now looks like black consolidated his position, so bishop on d6 is not allow to do something with e-pawn. You show tank, maybe. So now looks like fortress. So finally white wants the pawn, but it doesn't matter because position is totally blocked. So draw. Ildar Khairulin. Okay. So same team as before. Okay. So it was my annotation to game one. Any questions? What is your prediction? D4 or E4? In next game, you mean? Knight, Jan with white? Okay, I have no special prediction. Okay, maybe D4 he can play because he had promising position in Carlsbad after the opening, so probably he would be happy to repeat with some improvement. But okay, I'm not sure. We'll see tomorrow. Okay, so for today I made my work. I hope it was funny for you. So good night.